Welcome back to another One Piece card game video. My name is That Manga Nerd, and today we'll be continuing our coverage over the OP02 Paramount War with the blue color set that is coming out. There is a new leader, a new stage, a couple new vanillas, which could be played for the Sanji from the green, which we covered yesterday, and then a couple cards that may or may not make Blue Perp Croc better or Doflamingo better. So let's go ahead and hop over here to the Japanese side of things where it has all the card lists. And Sanji is also included in the blue-green because the dual color leader, but we're going to go ahead and skip over that because we've already covered him in yesterday's video. So the first card we're going to check out is Emperor Ivankov. He's a mono blue, 5,000 power, 5 life special attribute leader. He has the Impel Down and Revolutionary Army trait. His effect is, at the end of your turn, if you have 0 cards in your hand, draw 2 cards. So, just looking at the effect itself, it wouldn't seem that Ivankov is a good leader per se, but there are cards that come out in the set that are really good cards, but have you discard, basically it puts your hand size down to 0 most of the time. Now, just like every other leader, he does have a parallel, which, just him with the big ol' head, which I feel is pretty fitting for the character. So, that is the only leader for blue, so let's go ahead and hop into the character cards. First one we have is Inazuma. He's a 4/5 slasher, Impel Down a Revolutionary Army. His effect is, if you have 1 or less cards in hand, this character gains 2,000 power, and he's a blocker. So, this works either for attack or defense. It doesn't specify during your turn or your opponent's turn, so it's just if you have 1 or less cards in your hand. +2, so he's a 7. So you could think of him as a 4/7. Now, this is kind of a point for what I said earlier for Ivankov, where there are cards in the set where you're going to want to have low hand size. So, now, this is just one of those times where if you're not able to clear your hand to get 2 cards drawn off of Ivankov and you only have 1, then he's a +2. So all in all, not a bad effect for the cards that we'll see. If this was like a normal blue deck, this would only be really useful if you countered out of a lot of stuff for a Doflamingo. Or if you're playing Blue Perp Croc wrong, then, it's a pretty good effect. It also is a 1k counter, so it is good in hand if you decide not to play it. Then we have our first SR, which is Emperor Ivankov. He's a 7/7 special attribute, Impel Down a Revolutionary Army. His effect is on play, draw a card so that you have 3 cards in your hand, and then play up to 1 blue Impel Down type character card with a cost of 6 or less from your hand. So there is a Luffy in the set, a blue Luffy that is a 6 cost. Most people play this and then play that Luffy off of it just because it's the better card from this set to play, but there are other options with it being Impel Down. If you wanted to play the Inazuma off of Ivankov, you can. So it also does it lets you draw, so you have 3 cards in hand. So even if this is the only card in your hand, instead of getting 2 off, then you get 2 off from the Ivankov leader. You get 3 cards in hand from putting this die down. So it's a really good effect, I feel. It's also 7,000 power, and it lets you get 2 characters out for the cost of, basically lets you get a 7 and a 6 out for the cost of 7. So really good. He also does have a parallel, just manga, I guess, or it doesn't really look like it's from the manga. It looks like it's like an original illustration, but I mean, I could be wrong. So it does look nice though. I would want one of these, at least one. Then we have Kabaji. He's a 2/3 1k counter slasher, buggy pirates. On play, if you have Moji, draw 2, trash 1 cards from your hand. So just a hand refresher, I guess. if you're not seeing a card that you want, and basically is a queen effect, but there's no Don minus, so it's not a bad effect, I would say. Just a quick little easy way to cycle hand. We have the first vanilla, which is Crocodile, a 5/7 impel down, former Baroque works, 1k counter. This works with green blue Sanji because he's pure vanilla, so he can be played for 3, and it's a 3/7. Think of him like that, 3/7 if you play with Sanji. So then the next one we have is Gecko Moria, a 4/6, 1k counter, special attribute, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Thriller Bark Pirates. He can be played off of Doflamingo from the first set, and then also in green blue Sanji for 2, so a 2/6, not that bad. Then we have another vanilla, so there's a lot of vanillas in this already, or at least they're just putting the vanillas up first. We have a 6/8 Dracula Mihawk Slasher, 7 Warlords of the Sea, 1k counter, 4/8 playing in Sanji, can't be played off of Doflamingo, but really good art, but it being a 6/8, not that bad, so pretty strong card. Then we have Mingo, a 1/2 special attribute, 7 Warlords of the Sea, and Don Quixote Pirates. I think it's how you said it, whatever. His effect is on play, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, place them at the top or bottom of the deck in any order. Then he has a Dawn ×1 when attacking. You may trash 1 card from your hand, place up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. So he can be played off of Doflamingo from the first set for a quick little search. And then also his when attacking effect is not that bad. You are trashing a card from your hand. You have to make putting 1 Dawn on him only makes him a 3, so you'd have to put at least 3 Dawn on him to be able to swing at lead, unless you were going for a searcher or a blocker on your opponent's side of the field, if you're playing against a Zoro, you could also be going against a Searcher Nami. So there are a couple targets you can go after with this effect, and it lets you get rid of a 1 cost, so ideally a blocker from the side of the field, and it's putting it at the bottom of the owner's deck, so it's not that bad. Maybe you could have this set up to where in a Mingo deck you have this as you play a Perona to look at the top 5, you place this as the 5th card, and then or maybe even like the 4th card, and use the effect when you get to there to put him down to then look at the next 3, and then you have someone on the field that can get rid of a 1 cost blocker or something like that. So I could see it being used in a Mingo deck, but maybe this Ivankov deck, probably not, and not really a Sanji deck, just because there might be better options. Opinion might change after some playtesting with the set. Then we have Kuma, 3/3 1k counter, striker, 7 Warlords of the Sea, so it can be played off of Mingo. Revolutionary Armory. His effect on play, look at 2 cards on the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 7 Warlords of the Sea type card, add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. So definitely, I feel like this is a definite add for a Mingo deck, because you're already going to be having cards in your deck that lets you search, like look at the top 5 or top 3 or whatever. This lets you look at you can search for the top 5, set it up to where next turn when you have 3 you can play this guy, so you account for having to draw, you put him down, you on play, look at the next 2 cards, and one of them, it doesn't have a cost restriction, it just says have to be a 7 Warlords of the Sea, so you're already going to have a bunch of them in your hand, and then it lets you add it to hand instead of playing it, and then you just bottom deck the other card. So if you did one of the 5 that you look at, it's like an event or a really high cost card that you're not going to be able to search, and you can just put at the bottom if you don't think you're something like that. Then we have Buggy, 1/2 slasher, 1k counter. On play, look at top 5 of the cards in the deck. Reveal one blue impel down type card other than Buggy. Add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom. So just a Searcher Nami, but for blue and impel down. Good turn 1 card. It also does have a parallel, which I would love to have a playset of this, just because it looks really good. Then we have Boa Hancock, a 4/5 1k counter special attribute. Impel down, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Kuja Pirates. Her effect is when attacking, draw 1 card and trash 1 card from your hand, then trash up to 3 cards from your hand. So if you really want to not have cards in hand, attack with her, play her, add her in your deck, but I just don't see a need to play her. She does get a parallel, which I think this is the box topper, so, just to zoom in on the picture. Then we have 1/3 Moji, then we have Moji for 1/3, 1k counter, wisdom attribute, Buggy Pirates. So just a vanilla for the Sanji, and then also goes with the other guy where you can draw 2 and trash 1, just having him on the field. Then we have Morley, 4/5, 1k counter, special attribute. He's a giant in a Revolutionary Army. His effect is when attacking, if you have 1 or less cards in your hand, your opponent can activate the blocker of any character with a cost of 5 or less during this battle. So that's a pretty strong effect, especially in an Ivankov where you're going to be trashing a bunch of cards or having low hand size. And just same thing with Inazuma, where if you have 1 or less cards, so 1 or 0 cards, not being able to activate a blocker of a cost of 5 or less. 5 is a big number for blockers, mainly because the only blockers that can activate is 7 cost Kid from the first set, 7 cost Luffy from this set, and I think that's it. There might be a 6 cost blocker I'm forgetting about, but really strong effect, I feel. So then we have the Luffy that I was talking about earlier, 6/7 striker attribute, impel down and straw hat crew. He has an on play and when attacking. So you may trash 2 cards from your hand, return up to 1 character with a cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand, then this character gains double attack during this turn. So really good effect. You wouldn't necessarily use this on play unless you just really wanted to get rid of, so say you go first and on your 7 Dawn turn you play the Ivankov, and then from that Ivankov you play this Luffy, and you have 2 cards in hand that you can get rid of and don't have to worry about. You can then trash the 2 cards, return a 4 or less to the owner's hand, and then in the turn, and then your Ivankov leader kicks in where you then get 2 cards in hand. So a quick little cycle. So I guess that's why they have it as on play, but especially when attacking, getting rid of a 4 or less, so getting rid of a blocker, and then he gains double attack, and that's a double attack almost every turn because he's 7,000, so it's kind of easy to counter out of because most people might not commit that much into getting him out, or maybe they might have to because this is a guy that can double attack every single turn and get rid of a character on their side of the field. So not a bad card. He also does get a parallel, which is just a lot better. Really good art. I believe this is the Luffy that was on the homepage for the card game. Then we have Mr. 1, a 1/1 slasher, 1k counter, impel down and former Baroque works. He has an on-play effect, add up to 1 blue event with the cost of 1 from your trash to your hand. So his effect is pretty good, I feel, where you're able to get a blue event back from trash. It does specify a cost of 1. It might just be the translation. It might be like 1 or less because there is a 0 cost event in this set that we're going to get to in a second. So I hope it is 1 or less, but it very well could just be a cost of 1. If that is the case, I'm pretty sure there's a couple 1 cost events already, so the effect isn't horrible. Being able to get a card back from trash, especially if from this set you're trashing a bunch of cards, if you get him, but you trash a one cost event, but then you play him, you get a body on the field, and then you get a event back from trash. He's not a very good body on the field, but still he's something to build board with. Then we have Mr. 2. He's a 5/5 2K counter, impel down, former Baroque works. Dawn ×1, when attacking, you may trash one card from your hand, place up to one character with the cost of 2 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. Then, at the end of this battle, place this character at the bottom of the owner's deck. So, he's a 2K counter, which is this is the second Mr. 2, that's 2K. So, good hand presence, but having it to where, so 1 dot on him, so he's a 6K, and when you attack, you have the option of trashing a card, and then if you do trash a card, you return a 2 or less to the bottom of the owner's deck, then he goes to the bottom of the owner's deck. It doesn't sound horrible, because you get a swing off, and then if you're cycling through cards a lot, you could see him pop back up late game maybe. So, not horrible. You don't have to trash a card because it says you may, so you have the option of trashing. But I guess if you really need to get rid, if he's on the field and this turn you need to go for game and you're just trying to get rid of people on the board, because maybe the guy has 2 blockers and you only have the 1 6-cost Luffy that we looked at, and you have this guy on the field, use this guy's effect, bottom deck one of the blockers, and then use Luffy to bottom deck the other blocker, and then double attack, and then swing with Ivankov, and then leader, and so I could see the use for this here. Then we have Mr. 3. He's a 4/5 1K counter special attribute, impel down, former Baroque works. He's a blocker that at the end of your turn you may trash 1 card from your hand, set this character as active. So you can swing with him and then trash a card and set him back as active. So he's a cheaper restand, or not necessarily cheaper, he's a cheaper cost restand blocker compared to Kid, but he does have that trash 1 card, which if you wanted to, you could swing with Mr. 3 and then trash a 1 cost event that you can then next turn play a Mr. 1 and get that 1 cost back from your trash. So there's a plus side there. That's not that horrible. You get a swing off, you get a blocker, and the next turn you get that event back. So yeah, pretty good. Now we're on to the events. This one, Impel Down All-Star. It is a 1 cost event, so this one is good for getting back Mr. 1. You can get this back with Mr. 1. It has a main effect. You may trash 2 cards from your hand. If your leader has the Impel Down type, draw up to 2 cards. So basically this is just an Ivankov as of right now. So it's, you trash 2, draw 2. Just, cycle through. And then the trigger is just draw 2 cards. So pretty good card to have if you pull it from life, if you have it in. So, it's just a cycle out, get 2 more. And then we have Brickfist. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. It's a 2 cost fisherman and impel down. It has a main. Return up to 1 character with the cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand. Its trigger is activate the main effect. So it's just another way to, send a card back. Then we have a special card here. It's Gum Gum Rain. It is a 0 cost event, so it's just a free event to play. It is a counter event. You may trash 1 card from your hand. Up to 1 of your leaders or characters gains plus 3,000 power during this turn. And then its trigger effect, return up to 1 character with a cost of 2 or less to the owner's hand. So the trigger is good. The counter is good. And it's just free to play. This is the one event that I was talking about with Mr. 1, where if it is a 1 or less instead of just a 1, then you're able to get this back because it's just free. And so trashing a card, if you're running Ivankov, you're going to be trashing cards to begin with. So for it being a +3 for free and all you got to do is get rid of a card, it's, which even if Mr. 1 can't get back 0 costs, if you trash a 1 cost event for during the defending turn, you trash a 1 cost event and play this, then next turn you play a Mr. 1, and then you get that 1 cost event back in hand. So then we have Deathwink, a 3 cost impel down revolutionary army. Its effect is a counter. Up to one of your leaders or characters gains plus 6,000 power during this turn, then draw 2 cards so that you have 2 cards in hand. And then its trigger is return up to 1 character with a cost of 7 or less to the owner's hand. So its trigger is really good. With the 7 or less, that could be any blocker in the game, and then also a good couple strong cards, vanillas, non-vanillas. So trigger, really good. And then it being a plus 6 makes it even better. And then also draw 2 cards, so you have then draw a card so you have 2 in hand. I could see this card getting played, but especially because it is a plus 6. Plus 6 is crazy. Then we have the new stage card, New Comma Land. It is a 1 cost stage, impel down. Activate main. You may rest the stage. If your leader is Ivankov, draw 1 card and trash 1 card from your hand, then trash up to 3 cards from your hand. So it's a draw 1, trash 4. I don't really see a use for this as it is right now, because you're drawing 1 to trash 4. You may not even have 4 cards in your hand. Say if you have 1 card in your hand, you're going to draw 1 card, so now you have 2 in hand. Then you trash 1, so now you have back down to 1. Then you trash up to 3 cards from your hand, so then you just trash your whole hand. I guess if it's all bad cards, then that way you can draw 2 cards off of your Ivankov leader. But that's just getting rid of too many cards, I feel. So maybe you might see something, might see a use for this. If someone sees a use for this card, let me know down below, because I just don't really see a use for it at all. So that is all of the blue cards that are going to be coming out in Paramount War OP02. Let me know down below which character card you're looking forward to the most, and maybe some combos that you've seen or you've playtested already. Let me know down below. The next video will be going over all of the purple cards, so keep an eye out for that, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.